What is your best example of buy it before you need it? Fire extinguisher. The only annoying this is they expire, usually before you need them. Just schedule your fires to happen a few days before the extinguisher expires. That way you never waste one. You can usually find a fire scheduler at your local stationery store or pharmacy. Just ask the clerk. They'll know what you're talking about. And no, you can't use your device because it's against the law or something. You also have to shake them once a year. I shake mine every July 4th. In most of the US, dry chemical ABC fire extinguishers get a 6-year maintenance done as well as a 12-year hydrostatic test on the cylinder in commercial uses. As far as home use goes, fire extinguishers do not expire or go bad. Make sure that needle stays in the green, and every few years take a rubber mallet to beat up on the cylinder a little. Make sure you can feel the powder sift around to keep it from packing itself into a rock. If you have a 25-year-old dry chemical extinguisher kicking around your basement, it won't be a bad idea to replace it, but so long as the gauge was in the green and you took the time to shake up the powder, I'd be shocked to see it fail to fire. Now I'm imagining someone patiently queuing up at the checkout with a fire extinguisher so he can go home and put out the blazing inferno. I always give them as wedding gifts. The wedding couple always makes a funny joke about it. And then when they actually use it, they always call and thank me. Carbon monoxide detector. But don't you want your landlord to post notes on your fridge? Damn, thinking about that post really creeps me out. I'm so glad he got help before something bad happened. Haha, nice reference. But seriously, get one. I would, but I live in a dorm. House fire alarm is going off. Update, someone in another dorm broke a sprinkler, setting off the alarm. Update to electric boogaloo. The dorm is now inhabitable again. And a good one. I was in a small 2-floor apartment building during a major early snowstorm in which we lost power for days. My neighbors, being dumb as a box of fucking rocks and cold from 0-degree temps, brought their charcoal grill inside with the windows closed. Next thing I know, I've got firemen in my bedroom with a detection device that's flipping out and a headache. The apartment the furthest away from this dude's place had their detector go off. Saddest thing is the main tenant was out cold. His daughter, who had stayed over, thought he was dead. I was evacuated and watched them take her kicking and screaming out of the building. Let me see him feel bad for my parents when I called at 2 a.m. very distraught. Good news is everyone lived. Bad news is my detector was a piece of shit. We had a scare when I was in the 4th grade. We'd moved into a new house the previous summer, and on a Sunday evening in November/December, our carbon monoxide detector started going off. My dad wanted to just ignore it with the justification that it was several years old and defective. After 20 minutes of shouting at each other, my mom said, "Fine. I'm going to go to the store and buy a new one, and when that one starts going off, I'm going to call 911. So I went to the store with her and got a new one. Sure enough, within 10 minutes of plugging it in, it started blaring. The fire department came with lights, sirens, and full gear. They measured the content of the air and said that at the very least, we would felt sick by the morning. It likely would have been worse for me, since I was the smallest, and it would have hit me harder. My mom was due to go on a trip that weekend, but had to cancel at the last minute. Had she been gone, Lord knows what would have happened. I hope my dad felt like an absolute piece of shit that night, because he was being one. You better believe I bought a carbon monoxide detector my first night of being in an apartment with forced air heat. I have a close friend whose carbon monoxide detector kept going off. She contacted her landlord about the possibility of there being an issue with her furnace, and he blew her off. She went out and bought another co-detector, and it showed the levels as being super high. She got phoned. Upon further investigation, the furnace was old AF and not maintained at all. Essentially, the only reason she didn't die was that she would frequently crack her windows to let in fresh air. As you can imagine, she and her husband tore their landlord a new asshole and got the furnace replaced. I hope the dipshit learned his lesson about being a cheap ass landlord. Dashcam can easily prove you innocent in an auto collision. Some insurance even offer discounted rates if the insured vehicle has a dash cam. I personally recommend a front and rear cam setup. Ordered mine after one day of browsing r/idiards. I worked as a claim rep for an auto insurer for a mercifully brief period of my life, and I second this recommendation wholeheartedly. Human recall is atrocious, especially after a stressful or traumatic event. I also learned that 3/4 of people involved in accidents vehemently do not believe they are responsible for the accident, even if they very clearly are. As part of our training, we read the actual facts of loss collected by claim reps from both the insured and the claimant. We made our own assessments of liability as part of this. Then, we were shown footage from surveillance cameras that caught the accident. Neither party was even remotely correct as to what happened. As a result of that experience, I have a dash camera, which is seemingly rare in the US. At the very least, it gives the opportunity to share videos of the crazy shit you occasionally see on the road. Maybe it'll burn you in the end if you're responsible for an accident, but it could very well save you if you find yourself in a he said/she said dispute over who had a green light and who had the red. It's crazy how even accidents that seem cut and dry can turn into a he said/she said dispute. I got rear-ended hard while sitting totally still at a light and got pushed into the car in front of me. Both other drivers gave totally inaccurate accounts, blaming me for the accident and went after me for damages. It was infuriating. Ultimately no fault was found. Never got my $500 deposit back and lost thousands of dollars having to get a new car. My vehicle was the only one seriously damaged. I took the brunt of the impact, and yet everyone involved in the accident, except me, was able to milk it for medical settlements, etc. and actually came out of the whole things better off than where they started. This happened years ago, and thinking about it still fills me with rage. Long story short, get a dash cam before some idiot totals your car and lies to the insurance company about it. Not after like some idiots. That is, me. Dude, I browse that subreddit often, and I'm gonna tell you this. I don't have a car. I probably won't be able to afford one within the next few years. But one thing I'm sure of, the day I get a car, it'll get and install dash cam the same day. Can you recommend any good dashcam? My father is upgrading to a RAV4 from a Kia Sportage, and after watching endless compilations of accidents on YouTube with him, I severely underestimated how stupid people can be and the importance of something like this. I looked at the genuine Toyota dashcam, but that shit was $600. Way too much. You have any recommendations? Look for a dashcam with at least 170 view and minimum 1080 pixel HD. You can find a dashcam around $35 to $50 with that quality. I got mine for $38 with great feedback. I have the Varfo V3A119. It's about $120 on Amazon and it saved me at least my $2,000 deductible. Had I paid out of pocket it would have been $6,000 from a hit and run. Dashcam caught just enough info to track the guy down. r/dashcam has excellent recommendations in the sidebar. Cold/flu medicine. Not fun stumbling to the drugstore when you feel like death. Similarly, a bucket, wet wipes, and IR light. Picture this. 30 minutes ago you were sat in class thinking, huh, my tummy kinda hurts. Now, you are sat on the toilet with your head in a bucket, simultaneously shitting the Niagara Falls and spewing like you're trying to beat the kid from The Exorcist's long-range record. In the depths of your misery, you are so fucking glad you have the bucket. The bucket means you don't have to stick your head down the toilet, which smells like the concept of death itself crawled in the bowl and died of dysentery. Also, the risk of leaving either end unshielded is beyond imagining, since both ends are currently evacuating Satan's hot sauce in vast quantities. The wet wipes feel like silken angel kisses. When you finally have a 10-minute break from the all-encompassing horror, you can chug Diarrhea to give your weakened body the strength to survive the next round in the ring. You will need it. You will not stop vomiting for 8 miserable hours. Based, unfortunately, on a true story. Oh man, I've been there. It was the norovirus for my husband and myself. And I was 7 months pregnant. We also had a toddler who luckily didn't catch it. Thank goodness for an urgent care nearby in Zofran. I've also found out the hard way that when your whole body aches and you just want some hot soup, that is not the time to find out that you don't have soup in the pantry. If you're planning ahead, by having cough syrup and cough drops when you get sick. I also recommend having a few cans of your favorite soups so you can just put it into a bowl and heat up. Personally, I like a nice can of chicken noodle soup or split pea soup, especially for all of us who are adults, not living at home, but also don't have a significant other. If I get sick, I gotta be the one to take care of me. I have what I call emergency bouillon cubes. Cans of soup are heavy and sometimes expensive, and I have the habit of eating them when I don't want to cook. If I find I have no soup, I can cook noodles and chicken bouillon to get me through. Dry cups of miso soup and a kettle. Miso soup has magical healing properties, hangover or ill illness. Miso is the move. I have the flu right now and don't have medicine, and I can approve this message. Also, hydrogen peroxide, band-aid, and other first aid necessities. I'm 35 next month and this year is the first year I've done that. The Costco membership helps. I was at the dentist in March 2020 when they announced the world was shutting down. I hit up the pharmacy in the same building on my way out with the confidence that I beat the rush on Tylenol and NyQuil. I didn't end up using the meds until I eventually got mild symptoms from the vaccine. The runs on supplies in March/April 2020 was rough. I actually fared pretty well. I never ran out of basic stuff like toilet paper, but it's a little nerve-wracking when you're down to a couple rolls of TP and you don't know when you'll be able to get it again. It got a little close for stuff like that, and I had to conserve what I was using. There was also the thing where I felt I needed to have something keep myself healthy, that is, disinfectant and paper towel, but I can't find it anywhere. It was a very desperate feeling in the early days of the pandemic, when it was also new and uncertain. Once supplies started coming back that summer, I started keeping one item I'm actively using, and one that is held in reserve. It's not hoarder level, it all fits in a little cupboard under my dining room table. I do it with household staples, and with hygiene items, where it would screw up my routine to go without. I think I'll probably do that for the rest of my life. If nothing else, it makes it so it's no big deal to realize you've run out of something at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night because you've got another container in the cupboard. Backup means of heating and cooking that don't require electricity. I live in Texas, not going through that again. Or blankets and food you can eat of the can such as beans. Yeah, every article of clothing I had and every blanket I owned weren't cutting it. My good old Coleman stove provided me with hot beverages with helped a great deal. Solar chargers for USB devices are really good to keep on hand for events like this. Make sure they are recharged every few months. Would you believe I didn't own a single long-sleeved shirt when that happened? We'd had a plumbing backup that flooded the laundry room and killed like half my wardrobe, including the very few long-sleeved shirts I'd owned. So that's my silly lesson from the storm. We are also buying some of those emergency Mylar blankets, just in case. A will. Advanced Directive 2. I have a Prime Directive. Is that the same? Ask for estate planning. It covers the will or wills, directives, power of attorneys and declarations. Edit. The day you find out you're having your first child, please get this done. You can add guardianship afterwards. Condom. Get rid of it and you'll never need one. Just be sure to replace the ones you have stored after a few years. Finding your stash of condoms all expired a year ago is a depressing and sobering discovery. Car emergency kit. Jumper cables. Fix a flat. Spare tire. Jack. Basic first aid kit. Road reflectors. I would highly recommend a lithium-ion backup battery jumper over old school jumper cables. It's saved my ass so many times. I've used it late at night in a parking garage when there was no one around to jump my car. When I woke up to a dead battery at 5:30 am and didn't want to wake anyone up to jump me so I could get to work, and more. I keep it in my trunk and periodically make sure it's fully charged just in case. Mine has 2 USB slots and an emergency light too, so I could use it as a flashlight and to charge my phone in event of an emergency if I got stranded. Worth every penny. If you travel through uninhabited areas, you will also need cheetah logs, like Duraflame, sleeping bag, water, ramen, nut butter, shovel, and a big tarp that can be seen from the air. If there is snow, keep it off the roof of the vehicle Oh, this is smart. Never thought of some of these things. What if you painted SOS or help or something on one side of the tarp so if you needed to use it you could flip it up that way. People would actually see you need help. A lot of homeless out this way, so I think otherwise it might go unnoticed. Oof. My wife is a nurse and comes from a family of preppers. In 2018 she bought a whole lot of N95 masks for just in case. We had a ton of them from living around wildfires. I sent a bunch to my brother, who works in an old age home, to distribute when they didn't have them. At least I could buy them time to find their own. I started buying disposable N95s for international business trips back in 2012. I was keeping an eye on mares at the time, since I was traveling to the Middle East a lot. I also bought some half-face mask respirators for home when doing some projects. Needless to say, those came in handy last year. Toilet plunger. Back in college my roommate lent his plunger to the girls next door. It was more than an hour later till they came back with a brand new plunger. We asked what happened, and she said they broke the plunger. We were surprised at the idea of breaking a plunger, but we happily took the new plunger they bought for us. They also told us that the cashier was very confused when they were at checkout with two plungers. That's a damn good neighbor right there. Also, why the confused cashier? Some people have multiple bathrooms. Copy/pasting my top comment of all time on this exact topic. I don't know who needs to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Buy a plunger before you need a plunger. Edit. I'm going to recommend a black rubber model with the base ring. Don't cheap out with that basic bitch red version. They never give a good seal to really force that turd because they made for sinks. And don't you dare buy that accordion looking plastic thing. God help you if one of those plastic ridges crack under pressure when you push. Also, you don't have to plunge with the strength of Odin himself. Push firmly to the bottom then, without fully unplunging, push back and forth a half dozen times. It's not how hard you push, it's the oscillation of the water pressure that rams your doo-doo through. First thing I thought of, I've had friends who don't own a plunger, and I'm like WTF. Maybe you never use it. But that's one thing you do not want to have to go purchase in the moment of need. Also had a roommate who didn't want to keep the plunger in the bathroom. We didn't have a cabinet or closet in the room. She thought it was an eyesore to have it visible, and I was insistent, because if you have a guest over who ends up needing it, the last thing they are going to want to do is come ask you where the plunger is. Best to have it accessible for anyone who might need it. Yeah, my husband and I didn't get around to buying one with our first apartment. Cue Christmas dinner in the height of COVID. Husband lays a big one in the toilet and my butthole can't wait much longer. I hear a flush and let out a sigh of relief because I'm next. Then I hear an oh shit. Oh. Shit indeed. He clogged the toilet, so I try to clench my butthole while he drives to the closest store to get a plunger. They don't carry them. So he goes to Walmart, because Walmart has everything. They're closed. I'm dying inside. I'm considering just taking a shit outside. My stomach is rumbling while I'm anxiously googling ways to unclog a toilet without a plunger, and fast because I'm going to shit my pants soon. Finally I found on Google that you can shove a wire hanger in the toilet and it might help. I grabbed our last wire hanger and managed to unclog the toilet, and just in time too. The next day, we had one fewer wire hanger and one more plunger. Flashlight for when the power goes out. Flashlight for when the wife goes out. Tampons. I'm not sure if this'll sound gross or not, but if you use a cup it'll last an entire lifetime of periods. You could even have two if you'd like. For when you're out and about. Also tracking your period helps a lot I think. Both have changed my life, which is why I'm suggesting them here. I personally can't use them, but I still recommend them to many women. I did a course and we collected a donation for the local DV shelter. I decided to get some cups. Also, awesomely, in schools here in NZ, period products are supplied to students. Teachers have noticed that more girls are coming to school regularly. I feel like a lot of the big ones have already been hit, but additional things I would keep on hand too. A case of bottled drinking water, extension cord and surge protector, spare keys for your car and house cash in case you lose your credit card, nail clipper, especially for healthcare workers. I get those 5-gallon bottles delivered. After a couple of earthquakes scared me, I asked them to just bring 4 extra bottles. So now instead of having 2 in my kitchen I've got 6. That way I always have at least a couple of weeks of extra water on hand. But we regularly cycle through it. Having a spare nail clipper in the car, one of those fancy ones with extra attachments to them, is a lifesaver. Being able to clip those nails. Or clip off a tag, like when you really need to wear that new pair of gloves you just bought, because it's so cold. Or even remove a sliver, toilet paper. Or as we call them at home, lifesavers. Yeah, everybody called me a madman for always having 2x20 packs at home, and then COVID hit, and I was laughing and shitting without worries. Anything that doesn't have an expiry date, that gets used with regularity. I stock up on toilet paper, kitchen roll, dish soap, shower gel, hand soap, bleach etc. I was gonna say, everything. I absolutely loathe shopping. There are at least 50 scrubbing sponges under my sink. I have dozens of boxes of Kleenex. 15 or so bars of soap. The list just goes on and on. My bill at the mega membership mart is typically $500, but I only go 2 or 3 times a year. That's about as much exposure as I can stand. I used to be a bargainista, stocking up on extra things. Then I realized that a good portion of our teeny tiny apartment had been set up for what I called emergency preparedness, which wasn't really anything that urgent at all. Now, I've got a couple bars of soap, a bag of toilet paper and some paper towels. It helped me let go of always having to have another of whatever thing I could run out of. It also helped me let go of this worry of things being scarce, which I had built up in my childhood, and was secretly causing me great anxiety. When the shortages hit with the pandemic, I always found a way around. Even for toilet paper, surviving that made me feel okay. Zombie apocalypse, I probably wouldn't last. But I probably wouldn't make it that long anyways. I'm not trying to be an ass. I'm just trying to express that I found letting this habit go really freed me to live life with less fear. Not that you specifically have the same situation or insert. Generator. XGF said it was a stupid purchase and waste of money. Ended up using it for 2 days straight after a windstorm. Had the fridges, fish tank, a few lights, TV and internet going the whole time. Yeah, generators are really useful, but you have to take care of them. When I was like 6, there was a really bad snowstorm where I was. The generator hadn't been taken care of for around a year. So it didn't work. Ended up not having power for like 2 to 3 days. At least it was cold outside, so the stuff in the fridge could stay cold. Frozen milk isn't the easiest to drink though. So now anytime we go back to that place, my dad checks the generator. So far it's helped us every other time. Viagra. I work in a pharmacy and yeah, I'd be surprised at the number of calls we get wanting to refill 1 tablet of Viagra and they're on the way to pick it up. Sorry sir, my current wait time is 30 minutes. Awkward. Out of all the comments I've read, this one has made me laugh the hardest. Gas for your car before the indicator light comes on. I'm all about the 1/4 tank fill up. As soon as I hit that marker it's fill up time. In the winter, where it can get real cold, I never go below a half tank in case I get Ramses randomly. Summertime, I'll let it get to 1/4. Below that and you start picking up the silt and sediment from the bottom of your tank, or so I'm told. A good mattress. I moved my old one down to the basement a long time ago, and while cleaning I decided to lay on it again. Let me just say, there is no way in hell that I would be able to get out of that shit now. I was barely able to after laying on it for like 2 minutes. I can't even imagine a full 8 hours on it. Holy Jesus. 2 stories. One being an ex of mine had family in a barn. The barn had a room with like 15 beds. These beds were for smaller children. Had to be older than dust. I sat on one. And I'll never forget what it felt like to be on a bed older than dust. Was way different than the beds I had known. Which to be honest were all secondhand and not very good. Something about them felt like those braces Lisa got in The Simpsons. My girlfriend also was rocking a pretty old bed when we met. I'm not sure if she actually knew what a supportive bed felt like. The springs felt like they had long since given way. and lacked any joy. The whole thing felt sort of like you were being sucked into the ground. And in turn the portal of hell. Ha ha ha. When we got a new bed down the road, she was really happy. Mind you, this was another budget bed. But it was her first non-second hand. I had one prior. Blew her mind. We sleep a lot better. Although I hope to someday have a house and a car leaking. Would make me very happy. Good tip. Medicine OTC and prescription. Awkward if you're on a medication that they refuse to fill unless you're within a couple days of running out. The pharmacy I go to are freaking Nazis with the meds. I swear I cannot get my meds the night before 30 days. So the meds I take in the early morning which keep me from being extremely sick, I have to wait for the pharmacy to open and drive all the way into town in order to refill certain prescriptions on the 30th day exactly. They absolutely refuse to give it to me even the night before the 30th day. I feel like that's a dumb rule, especially when you rely on that medication to function. Leatherman Multitool, I have used every single one of the tools that are on it many times over again. I also use it at least once a day, usually 5 to 6 times a day. It is invaluable, and if I should ever lose it or it breaks beyond its 25-year warranty, then I would buy a new one that very day. Maybe it's just my lifestyle, but I consider it to be more important than my mobile phone. I keep one in the kitchen and use it nearly daily. I have a small one that I carry on my keychain that doesn't get nearly as much use though. EpiPen. Pharmacist here. One of the most obscene things about the recent price gouging is that this is an item that people purchase because they hope they never need it. I was in the hospital last month and they gave me a med I was anaphylactically allergic to. It was the first time needing an EpiPen. I have always kept them on me, but never needed it. I was scared, but that relief to be able to breathe again is indescribable. I will never not have one on me at all times. I can't see this anywhere, but bucket. There will come a time when you'll be shivering on the toilet in only your soiled or almost soiled underwear, regretting absolutely every decision leading you to that hopeless, painful, and degrading moment. With tears streaming down your cheeks, you suddenly feel the inevitable rumble as well as a simultaneous metallic taste creeps into your mouth and rattles your jaws. You know what's coming. You do not want to choose, and you don't want to share the toilet your ass has just been glued to the last 20 minutes with your face. Buy a bucket. Dad here, riding lawnmower drive belt. Look, the ones that come with a new mower always suck. If you snap one, then it will most likely be special order because of the countless sizes and brands. I have a common mower that I bought new, and the belt is not stocked at Home Depot, Tractor Supply, Lowe's, etc. Buy one and put it in your toolbox. /dad out. Here in Florida, air conditioning systems are our lifeline. One of the most common failures is the fan motor start capacitor for the compressor. It's a cheap part, 20 to 50. But it always takes several days to get. Without air conditioning in your home in Florida, not only will it be impossible to sleep, but your house will grow mold indoors in 2 days or less. This is exactly how repair companies get to charge $500. They stock the parts, but refuse to sell you the part and charge the repair as an emergency. So buy one and keep it as a backup. Tick removal tool. One Friday night, I found myself with Oscar, my lab corgi mix, clamped upside down between my thighs so I could pull a tick off his turd cutter. I thought to myself, I used to be cool. Girls would ask me out. Friday nights were for fun. Car cat litter and a car blanket. A gun. Dash cam. Wet/dry vacuum plunger and toilet snake flashlight and lots of backup batteries. Pad/tampons. Bought a bunch of bags of road salt from Walmart recently. Only 97 cents per bag. My girlfriend asked why it's not even cold out, and I just said these same bags will be probably $3 a pop when it's storming. Guns. 2020 taught everybody that society is never more than one virus or case of police brutality. Away from returning to the law of the jungle, the police have no duty to protect you. And mass civil violence/panic is not the time to find out those gun laws you thought would bring safety suddenly leave you completely defenseless when you actually need it. The morning after pill and home pregnancy kit. Fire extinguisher. First aid kit. Period products. Always restock before the next one.